who's not at the community board conference. Why not? No. No Part A matters, but you have an issue you want to raise.
Kia ora tātou, Mayor and councillors. Now, I'm not at the board conference because I got to go in my first term, and our Deputy Chair, Carolyn Potter, is because she hasn't been for some years. So I think all the community boards are being represented, which is great. I just wanted to draw your attention to a few matters. Firstly, item number 2 in this first report, just about the we'd made a decision about the Barrington bus interchange at the Barrington shopping centre, and there was quite a lot of public pressure not to approve any changes or to get rid of it entirely and things like that, but the community would really believe strongly in public transport, but we were prepared to hear some people who weren't able to present to that, and we ended up upholding our position and asking for a few investigations. But I mean, this interchange is really, we chose the least bad option, and it would be great if going into the future, I'm talking about not necessarily 10 years but 20 years, that the interchange in this area would actually would be worthy of the name. And one of the questions was a request. We requested that staff investigate the introduction of a 30km/h speed limit in Athelston Street where the interchange is. And I guess there's a broader question around that about it. When we start to talk about delegations, if boards would be able to give options to communities of slowing down their residential streets, I think that would be really good in making them more pedestrian and cycle friendly. Moving on, I just wanted to thank the council very much for supporting the community board and supporting the community around Barrington Playground. There's a great example of partnership between us and us in the community, and so thank you very much. I think it was a unanimous decision of council, and thanks to Deputy Mayor Buck for her work on that, and to our councillors as well. It's a great outcome, and the community are very, very grateful.
Excellent. So there's 2 community board meeting minutes. So that's you'll move that, Phil and Tim. Yanni?
Just really interested in the Kashmir Club and the Christchurch Squash Club. Probably the councillors that were here when we did our Central City Plan heard from the Squash Club about the desire to work with the Metro Sports and have contribute financially either to the stadium, the new stadium, or the new Metro Sports, and have their squash facilities there. So I was kind of interested to see that they're now looking at Kashmir and whether there was any consideration of talking through the Metro Sports or the new stadium as being a place where they might have liked to have gone.
I mean, the great thing about this Kashmir Club thing is it doesn't come at any cost to council. And the Kashmir Club has been very generous to council and community board in hosting meetings and things like that, and they came to us unprompted on their own, out of their own volition, to talk to us about this proposal when they didn't have any obligation to do so. So that is really good. I mean, I guess if part of the consideration for Metro Sports and Napunawai is around squash facilities, then obviously that needs to be taken into consideration.
But so just from the squash club's point of view, they didn't raise any desire to be in the central city?
No.
Tim?
This was a specific program that they talked about. So it's nothing to do with the other programs, whether it's in the central city or whatever. This was just for them to come to the community board to share with us what they were proposing and get feedback from us and the community. But as Paul Quarry said, there's no funding required from council, etc. That they're doing it on their own, and it doesn't affect any of their other programs for the future.
I understand that, and that was the same when they came to council to say they've got insurance money from their damaged facilities, and could they work with us in partnership with some of the big anchor projects to help us keep costs down and also to have a presence in the central city. And I was just trying to understand if this is instead of that or whether this is kind of complementary.
It is not instead of it. No, this is separate.
Okay.
So it's on.
Great.
No, I think we'll be all right. Yep. Andrew?
Thank you. Page 142, item 8.1, a community seminar regarding the Port Hills, similar to that held for the Heathcote River. Obviously, there are 3 wards that have got the Port Hills partially in them, the Spreydon, Heathcote, Hagley, Ferrymead and Littleton, Mount Herbert. Was any consideration brought into that discussion of extending that out to the 3 wards or including all of those communities?
Yes, we'd like all stakeholders, including all the community boards involved in that, just as we will when we hold another one discussing the Heathcote River, have Rickett and Wigram, Spreydon, Heathcote and Hagley, Ferrymead. You know, because these are issues that affect us all, and the Port Hills are important to everyone. So, I mean, I would really encourage as many councillors as possible to be involved in that. The responsibility for the Port Hills is divided between private landowners, the council, and the Summit Road Society and those other societies. And we don't get everybody in the same room very often. In fact, I'm not aware of any time since I've been on community board that that's happened. So it would be great to look at how we might be better stewards of the Port Hills and their issues.
Okay. So, I see Paula was there in a different hat on. Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to comment that I want to congratulate the board around the Barrington Medical Centre and the bus interchange issue. It could have been easy to back off. There was a lot of local opposition, and I commend the board for standing your ground. Certainly the delays weren't in any way the fault of the board, so I want that acknowledged.
Well, I appreciate that, Councillor Clearwater. I mean, we were really careful with the process and made sure that, you know, as much as possible that we could involve and make sure that everybody was represented, and that's why we allowed that later deputation.
Yes, and I can also add too that following that decision, I know the staff have had ongoing discussions with the medical centre as to how it could be workable.
Yeah, and I have to acknowledge that the willingness of the staff to work constructively with the medical centre is I'm really pleased with that.
Right, now you wanted Melanie to speak.
Oh, that's in the next report.
They're both being dealt with together, I just said that.
Oh,
Sorry,
I missed that.
I said the 2 reports are being dealt with together, 20th of March, 17th of April. Yeah.
Sorry, well, thank you. We'll come to that issue in a second. I just wanted to mention 2.2, which is this, the second part of it, the 65 Sandwich Road. Now, this is a building that was the council in tranche 1 of the facilities rebuild program allocated about $450,000. It's not a heritage listed building, but it is a building that was built by the council in the Depression, and it housed the St Martin's and Power Plunkett Toy Library for some years, but they've had 7 moves since the earthquake, and the community board has indicated that we'd like them to consider options, but there's been a bit of a bump in the road in that there was another QS report done. Instead of an estimate of $450,000 to repair, which I admit I thought was a bit exorbitant anyway, it's come back at $650,000, which is a bit of a gold-plated one. The toy library really needs a place. At the moment they're in a very unsatisfactory situation. They used to be the largest toy library in the South Island, and they've dwindled numbers, and they really do need a decision on the future of Sandwich Road. But it would, you know, it is an old building, but it is fit for their purpose. They weren't wanting any kind of upgrade before, and I just wanted to, you know, because ultimately it's the council's decision. I just wanted to point that out, and that we do have a community group, and they have a big committee who's really committed to the community, and they want to be back in their community, but it needs to be dealt with.
Thank you. Yep.
And Melanie is here to talk about the former Hoonhay Volunteer Library.
So the library was closed a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, and then we were looking to see if there was any community use or desire to use that building, which is actually relatively small. It's only 53 square metres and has a toilet and is very simple with no phone line or anything else. So I put out some flyers, put some messages on social media, and we message went into the Southern View, and I got quite a few groups coming back, large and small, who were interested. So I put together that interest and passed it over to both the community's advisors in our board, and also that's gone to the property team, and I had a few more since then that I haven't passed on, but so there's quite a lot of interest basically from within our area. It's community groups mainly, lots of them are wanting to support parents and things like that, and some of them are from the east, people groups that haven't got somewhere since 4 years ago. So And a lot of them just wanting to use it part-time, so I could see how they could work together. And some of them have money as well that they could put towards building something. There's quite a large back section at the back where they could build storage facilities or another meeting room or something like that. So to me, it seems like a wonderful opportunity to keep that as a community facility. Yeah.
We're flagging that because it's ultimately going to be council's decision, and it's not surplus to requirements, and there are community groups just crying out for space.
Thank you. Good.
Could I ask a couple of questions, but they straddle both reports, please, given that they've both been taken?
Yeah. I mean, we've spent a lot of time on this report, and we've got
I'll
a lot
be
to
quick.
get through.
Okay. The first question is about the smoke-free signage. I'm fascinated this has come from the community itself. We're looking at working on this through the community housing and economic development with revisiting our smoke-free outdoor policy. Have you got an update on that?
We don't have an update from this report, but the information that we had was said that there is a council policy, and they didn't want to dilute the effect of the council policy by having different type of signs. That they would go and have a look and see if the council signs were there or not, and make sure that they were.
Next question's about, in the next report, the Bone Vale door knocking exercise, about who carried that out?
It's done by a group of volunteers from various organisations, coordinated by, I think, Te Raranga, and they did amazing work, and they've done it out east and out west as well, and they found some very interesting things out around, the fact that one of the things they didn't realise is the level of damage in the hills to both homes and infrastructure, and that it's sort of underappreciated that the level of damage. If you go for a walk around the hills in our ward, you'll see the damage is huge. When you talk to people, they are very stressed out about insurance issues, about finding accommodation and things like that. Which we kind of knew, but it's nice to have a third party confirm that and to offer that pastoral support. And there's no, and to keep the privacy issues tight.
Right, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Now, I've got to leave the meeting.